Hi, today we're casting on to the Addi hat machine, and this is step one. You want a very long tail to come into your first pin, and I start on the first black pin, and we're going to hook it and just do a slow crank, and you're going to alternate them back and forth around the pin and up. Once it gets going a little bit, it's really smooth. I am using 2 strands of worsted weight yarn. The biggest thing we have to pay attention to and go real slow is to make sure that both strands are caught into the notch of the pin. And the cast on is simply through a pin, around a pin, through the pin, around the pin, making sure both strands are in the needle.
Do you have to leave slack right now, or is the slack later?
The slack comes later. You still want to do it fairly loose, but just enough tension to make sure both strands of yarn stay in the notch of the needle.
And the needles on the Addi machine are different. They're not like a hook latch needle that has a moving part. It's just a single piece of plastic.
Okay, we've now made it all the way around to pin number 1 where we started. And I'm going to carefully, sometimes you have to pull this down a little bit to make sure the yarn is tucked into the machine. And now we're ready for the first row where all it starts getting into the needles. I'm going to tuck it into my guide. And again, starting slowly, because sometimes you have to do a little bit of adjustment to make sure the yarn is in place.
And so that we're not really going fast like when you're doing a scarf or a single ply. These are the techniques that you use when you're using 2 strands of yarn or even more plies. Like when we're using sock yarn, we can get away with using as many 7 plies on the Addi machine. It's a little bit more difficult. But it's still faster than knitting with needles, and the thread tension is infinitely more even. And so this is a really great way to make a hat. You can also make flat panels using this same method. We'll go ahead and let Melanie knit some, and then when we get up to making the headband or pulling the headband up, we'll see how that goes.
Okay, so we've